There we go. All right, so let's get started on today's notes, right? We're going to continue from where we left off, which is to calculate the weighted mean, right? It's the mean of the data set whose entries have varying weights. You understand by weights, right? Like one is worth more than another. So if I got something that was weighed 70% and something that was weighed 30%, a 100-point assignment here is going to be weighted more than a 100-point assignment here, right? And that kind of makes sense, hopefully, intuitively, that you guys have done that before. Like, you guys understand, right? If you do something that was worth 100 points on your test, and you do something that was worth 100 points on your homework, right? And you, like, did all of your homework, you got 100 out of 100 on your homework, but you only got 50 out of 100 on your test, that 50 is going to pull your average down more than the 100 out of your homework, right? It all depends on the percentages, okay? And it also works the other way, by the way. If you get 100 on your test, which is worth 70%, and you did none of your homework, you're not going to fail the class with 50%. You'll still pass the class with a C, right? So that's how that weight works, right? They tell you like, oh, this one's weighted this amount, this one's weighted that amount. And the way they do the weights is usually by percentages, right? They use it usually by percentages. And the example I did for you guys was in my class last year, right? My class last year had this percentage weight, right? It was 70% tests, 20% quizzes, 10% homework. And you could have a kid who like did really well on the test, right? And didn't do any of their homework and still pass the class, right? Whereas if I didn't weight it and I measured it based off of all of the points evenly, if I didn't weight it, they would end up getting a failing grade in the class last year if they didn't do any of the homework, but yet they got a C on the test. So that's the idea behind weighted scores, right? You can multiply by the percentage, by the weight, and then calculate your new score off of that. So over here, this is where we are. We're on the I'll do one. So let's take a look at this guy right here. All right, let's take a look at this guy right here. And let's say, well, let's take a look here. You're taking a class in which your grade is determined from 5 sources. 50% from your test averages. 50% is from your test average. 15%, whoops, that didn't go to the color I wanted. 15% is coming from your midterm. Midterm is like a big test in college. 20% is from your final. That's another big test. And 10% from your computer lab work. And of course, 5% from your homework, right? So we have all these guys right here, right? We have our test average, right, from your tests. Then you have your midterm, right? Then you have your midterm. Then you have your final exam, your computer lab work, and last is your homework. Okay. So these are the scores that this student got, right? The student got an 86 as an average test score, right? So 86 is their average test score right there. Okay. And then on their midterm, the test that's halfway through the semester, by the way, that's what the midterm is. They got a 96. They got an A, right? That's beautiful. And that's weighted at 15%. Notice the percentages are right here as your weights, right? As your weights. They write it as a decimal. Okay. Final exam, they got a B, a 82 out of a possible, I don't know, 100. I'm thinking, I'm assuming. Computer lab, they have right here. And we got that right there, and the homework down here at the bottom. They did all their homework. Okay, so to calculate this weighted mean, right? The weighted mean looks like this crazy looking equation, doesn't it? But it's simply just your score that you're dealing with multiplied by its weight. So the score that they got, you just multiply by its weight, and that's all it is. So right here, what's 86 times 0.5, right? That's all I'm going to be doing right here. It's going to be 86 times 0.50, and that's going to be this part of it. Yeah, I know. It seems complicated, but you just simply take the score, multiply it by its weight. Now, the hard part is figuring out the weight. I know you're like, they tell you the weight, and they will tell you the weight, but sometimes it won't be percentages. It will be something else, and I'll show you what I mean. But let's do this real quick. So it'll be 86 times 0.50, and 86 times 0.5 is going to give me this 43, right? And that's how I filled out this chart. You just take that number and you multiply it. So I'm going to do it for the next one as well. Right, I'm going to go down here, 96 times 0.15, 96 times 0.15. And that's going to give me 14.4. 14.4. Okay, keep going, keep going. Next one down, 82 times, right? 82 times 0.20. And I get there 16.4. 16.4. Keep going. Next one down, 98 times 0.10. 98 times 0.10. That's going to give me 9.8. 9.8. And last but not least, 100 times 0.05. And that's going to give me 5, right? So that's this part. That's me multiplying your score with the weight, right? This part right here that I have circled, let's highlight that, a nice color. Let's highlight this part right here, yellow, right here. What I've essentially done is this part right here. That's that part of that equation. Me multiplying my data times the weight. The next symbol that we're dealing with now is this guy, and I've showed you this symbol before. That symbol means the sum, right? We call that a sigma, right? So the sum of these things of x times w is just going to be equal to the numbers that I have in this chart added straight down, added straight down. So I'm going to just take this 43 plus this 14.4 plus this 16.4 plus 9.8 plus 5. And I just simply add it straight down, right? And what do I get here? I get the sum of this is going to be equal to 88.6. 88.6, right? Now, 88.6 is almost my answer. 88.6 is almost my answer for my weighted mean, for my X bar. It's almost my answer. You're almost done. You're almost done, right? That's the top part right here. You still need the bottom part. The bottom part is this guy right here, and that's what I need to divide by. And again, what does that symbol mean? That's a sigma, right? And that sigma of W just means to take everything in your W column and add them all up. That's all sigma represents, is that added all together. So I'm supposed to do 0.5, 0.50 I should say, same as 0.5, plus 0.15, plus 0.20, plus 0.10, plus 0.05. And you sum that all up, what do you get? I get 1 as my weight, and that's what I need to divide by. And what's my average going to be equal to then at the very end? My average is going to be equal to 88.6. 88.6. That's your answer. That's your answer. You okay with that? Hopefully. You can see it's not too bad, right? It's not too bad. Okay? Hopefully you're okay with that. Yeah. And it looks daunting, right? It looks daunting. And that's the only problem with these weighted scores. It looks crazy. But honestly, that's all you're doing. You're just taking the score now, and you just have to multiply it by its weight, right? Before, when you calculate the average, you didn't have to do that. You would just add up all the scores and then divide by the total there was, right? This time, since there's a weight, we divide by the weight this time, right? How much does it influence our data? Okay, let's do the same problem. Let's do the same problem, but this time they're going to say, what if an error was made grading your final exam, and instead of getting a 82, you actually got a 98 on your final? How much does that affect your score, right? And this is what used to bother me when I would have a conversation with kids. The weight of your final is 20%. That's a big deal, by the way, to get from a B to an A. If the weight of that is 20% of your grade, that actually raises your grade quite a bit. And let's actually see what happens here when we do that calculation, okay? So let's write these down again, right? So my scores that I have written down here for the test score is 86 for the test scores, 96 for the midterm, but the final exam, right? The final exam is going to be different. The final exam is going to change. Instead of it being 82, it's going to be a 98, right? That's going to be the new final exam score, right? And then the computer lab score is still going to be 98 for the computer lab score, and the homework is still going to be 100. Are you guys okay with how I wrote that down? That looks confusing, actually, if I don't write down the terms, right? Are you guys okay with this? This is the new value for your final that we're going to do right here. What if an error was made grading your final exam, right? And everything else stayed the same except for your final exam. So the test mean is still the same, the midterm still the same, but your final exam changed. Your final exam changed from 82 to 98, right? Your computer lab was still the same, and your homework was still the same, right? I'm calculating these guys right here. The weights are all the same still as well, right? The weight is still 50% for your test average. Your midterm is still 15%. Your final exam is still 20%. And your computer lab is still 10%. And your homework is still 5%. So if I change that one value, right, do I still change the way to do this problem? My answer, of course, is going to be no. You still take these guys and you multiply them across, right? So this didn't change. The 86 times 50 is still going to be 43, right? This is, by the way, this is my my score. This is my weight. And this right here is my score times my weight. So that's going to be in this chart right here. And let's go ahead and do that real quick. So this is 43, so that didn't change, right? This is still 14.4. That didn't change. But my final exam score is going to change, right? My final exams right here was 16.4. When I recalculate it with my new score of 98, I type that into the calculator, 98 times 0.20, and I get 19.6. 19.6, right? The next one down here is going to be 9.8 still, and this one down here is going to be 5. And now to calculate my average, right, my weighted average, I just add up these scores in this column right here. I just add up all of these guys, just like I did over here. I added all of these guys to get 88.6. I'm going to add up all these guys to get my new weighted average. So I take these guys, I add them all up, which is going to be 43 plus 14.4 plus 19.6 plus 9.8 plus 5. And I get 91.8. 91.8. That's my new weighted average. Right? You see it? I got an A, and it actually raised up my score from an 88.6 to a 91.8. And you'll say, but Nakmi, that's weird, because the 82 was like a B minus, and they got an A plus on the final, and it only raised it like 3%. And yeah, I agree that it is kind of low, but if you look closely, the reason why it only raised it 3% is because the weight of it is only 20% of the grade. See that? So what this is essentially saying, by the way, if you look at this column right here, if you look at this column, and if you already get this, you don't have to listen to this part, but I just like to share this part. This part is a way for you to see how much of the percentage they got for each of the categories. If their test mean is 50% of their grade, this score right here represents that they got 43% out of the possible 50% of that grade. This 14.4% represents that they got 14.4% out of the total possible 15%. Right? And the easiest one to see is probably this one right here for the homework. The homework is worth only 5% of the grade. Since he did all his homework, he earned all 5% to get added into that final grade. Right? So if he didn't do that, if he didn't do his homework, I would subtract 5% from this thing, and it would be his final grade without that 5%. Okay? Anyways, that's the average for your new weighted mean. It's just 91.8. So again, if this is all going over your head, to calculate it, right, you follow these steps. You multiply x, which is whatever data you're dealing with, times the weight. So you just multiply that out, write that number down. Once you do that, and you do that for all your x's, you then add them all together. So this added all together is going to be 91.8, and that's the sum of your x times your w, right? Then, once you get there, you divide this 91.8, and you divide it by the sum of your weight, which is everything in this column. Everything in this column. In this case, when you add this all up, it just comes out to 1, right? Which is what we saw right here. The sum of it came out to 1. So you just divide that by 1, and that's your answer for this guy. Your weights will be different for each problem. Sometimes they'll be like percentages, and if it's a percentage, you just write it as a decimal, right? And sometimes there'll be actual numerical values, which is going to be the next one that we're going to do right here. But I'm going to pause it for a second. I feel like I've talked a lot here. Do you have any questions on how I got any of these numbers that are on the screen? Right? It is very important to ask if you do not understand or if you're lost anywhere before I move on. So I'm going to pause here. I just threw a lot of information there at you. Do you have any questions at all? Lost. Perfect, Lewis. Lewis, that's perfectly fine if you're lost. I just need to know that you're lost. Anyone else feel lost? at all. And also, could you type in, where did I lose you? Where did I lose you? Where did I lose you? There's two problems by here, by the way, on the screen. You want to go with the first part or the second part? Lewis, if you could help me out. Where are you lost? And we can go ahead and take a look at that. First part. All right, let's focus just on this part right here. Okay, just on this part. Okay, so what I want you to see, right, when you're calculating the average when it is weighted, that's the key word here, that when it's weighted, you have to do a little bit more than just add them all up and divide by how many there are, right? You have to do this thing right here where you add up the X scores multiplied by the weights. This part right here needs to be done first, right? So you need to take your X value and multiply it with your weights. So I had to take the 86 and multiply by 0.5 to get this 43, okay? And then I did it for all of them. I did the 96, which is the score that they told me, right? They told me that the score is 96 right here. So I took the 96 and I multiplied by its weight, which was 0.15. And again, the weights are given to you, right? In this case, they gave it to me as a percentage, 15% for your midterm, which is that 15% right there, but we wrote it as a decimal, right? Look at this, 20% for your final exam. That's just 20% right there. The score that they got for the final exam was 82. And all I did was multiply those two numbers to get that 16.4. So you're just multiplying them out and you're just writing them down, right? This guy got a score of 98 on his computer lab work. How much is the computer lab work worth? It's worth 10%. So I wrote that down as 0.10. I multiplied that to get the 9.8. Does that make a little bit more sense now? That's all I'm doing is I'm multiplying the score that this person got along with the percentages of the weights of all of those scores, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah? Okay, once you do that, right, that's the part that goes inside here. The symbol that they're giving me right here is the sigma, and that's just telling me to take all the numbers I have in this chart and just add them together. Just add them together. And when I added them together, I got this 88.6. What that 88.6 represents is this whole thing up at the top. Okay? You're almost done. Why doesn't the weight number change even though you change the score? Because the weight stays the same in this particular problem, Otto. It just stays what the teacher set the weight at, right? That's all it is. Even though this kid got a new score of 98, he got that new score of 98 on the final exam. And for this class, the final exam is still only worth 20% of the grade. There are going to be times, Otto, where you do change the weights of those problems, and you need to pay attention to that. And I would then go change this value if the weight did change, right, for any of these things. If you ever change the weight of something, you need to go in there and change the value. But since this one doesn't change the weight, I kept it the same. Okay? Does that make sense, Otto? Does that answer your question? Why we didn't change it? Yes, awesome. Lewis, are you feeling a little bit better now, Lewis, with the sum of this one, getting this 88.6? Hopefully you are. Yes, awesome. You're almost done. You then need to divide by the sum of all the weights, and that's this right here. So you added all this up and you got 88.6. That's the number that goes right here. And then you have to divide. Remember, we're always dividing by a total, right? We're always dividing by something. In this particular type of problem, we divide by the weight. So you add up all these percentages. In this case, it just happens to equal to 1. So I divide by 1. And then that's my answer. And then that was it for that problem. And then we did the same thing. We just changed one of the scores and we just practiced a little bit more. But that 1 was the sum of the weights. And then you just divide by that sum of the weights. That's where that 1 comes from. Okay? Hopefully that answers it. Right? And again, thank you guys for asking those questions. I knew that there's probably a couple of you guys that have questions and you just didn't feel like asking it. But don't ever hesitate to ask, guys. I cannot tell if you get it or not. The only reason why I was pausing there was just from my past experiences. You're not the only ones who got stuck here. I've taught this for like 4 to 5 years now, and every single time I do this problem, I always have kids who struggle with it on the test, but they never asked me beforehand. So I like to do more of these examples if you are, struggling with it, right? Or I can go further into the explanation if you are struggling with it. Please don't hesitate to ask, guys. Please don't hesitate to ask. All right. With that being said, let's actually go on to the next part here. I'm going to go start a pair deck up for this example right here. I know it says will do, and we are going to do it together. I'm just starting up the Pear Deck just so we can have a place to write for you guys, because there's not enough space to fit this all in here. Or you can try to fit it all in there, but let's do it on this Pear Deck. So let me get this set up for you guys. Get this link real quick. Open up this guy real quick. And I'm going to type it into the chat, how to join the Pear Deck, all right? So there's the link, right? If you don't want to do it that way and you want to do it on your phone, you can go to joinpd.com, and the code is NGZCYD. There you go. And we're on this problem right here, the account balance. The account balance. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and we're just going to focus on this guy right there. Okay. The account balance for the month of May, a checking account has a balance of $759 for 15 days, $1,985 for 5 days, $1,410 for 5 days, and $348 for 6 days. What's the account mean daily balance? So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit more there so I can see that a little bit better. Right? So let's do this together, guys. Let's do this together. Right? What I need you guys to draw is a table for me. I don't know if you can insert a table on there on the Pear Deck, but you could also just draw it with using lines. Or if you don't want to draw it at all, you can just type out the numbers, right? And here are the numbers that we're going to be working with. My X values are right here. My X values is going to represent the amount of cash in this bank, right? The X value is going to represent the amount of cash in this bank. And I have there 4 different values I care about here. One of the values is 759, right? The other one is 1,985. The one after that is 1,400. Not 19,000, 1,985, 1,410, and the last one, of course, is 348, right? And this is my table. You guys don't have to make a table, but it just helps. It just helps. I'm gonna make, yeah, you know what? Why not? I'm gonna draw my lines out here. You guys have a line feature, right? So you don't have to worry. Oh God, that's gonna be really. You know what? What? Sure, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it anyways. So I'll do it like that. Hopefully you guys can see it okay, right? And that's the easy part, right? All the X values, right? How did I get those values? Those are just the numbers that I have. That's the money that's in this bank account, right? Whoever's bank account this is, he's got some good amount of cash on some days, right? Some days he has almost $2,000. Some days he only has $300, right? So I want the average over a span of the month of May, right? Over the span of the month of May. So, right, I'll give you a second to write that down, but before I move on, I wanted to show you what this data represents, okay? So I'll give you a second to write that down, just so you can get it as if hopefully you're coming along, following along with it. You could do it in your Delta. I'm sorry, you could do it in your Pear Deck, and then when you finish, you could just screenshot this and put this into your notes. That way, you don't have to do it twice, right? Don't do it in your notes and then screenshot it to your Pear Deck, because your Pear Deck, you can't paste it. So screenshot your Pear Deck and then put it into your notes when we finish. But this is what I want to show you, right? If you're calculating the average of things, you're supposed to add up like all of them and divide by how many there are. But what's nice about the weighted mean technique is that if you know how many days it was with this specific value, you don't actually have to add it that many times. You can just multiply by that. And let me show you what I mean. So here's the thing, right? Can you guys picture the month of May, right? How many days are in the month of May? Do you know? January, February, March, April, May. There's 31 days in the month of May. I just realized I'm pointing at my knuckle without explaining to you how that works. Do you guys know how many? Do you guys know that trick, by the way, to figure out how many days are in a month using your knuckles? If you count the month on the big knuckle, there's 31 days in there. If you're in between the knuckles, you have less than 31 days. So if you started off, January has 31 days. February is in between the knuckles, so February has less than 31 days. March is on the middle knuckle right here, so March has 31 days. April is in between, so April has less than 31 days. May is on this big knuckle, so May has 31 days. January, February, March, April, May. June is in between, so June has less than 31 days. July is on the big knuckle at the end here, which has 31 days. And then we go backwards from here. So after July is August. August has 31 days. September has less than 31 days. October has 31 days. November has less than 31 days. And then December ends on a big knuckle. So you have 31 days there. All right, just random counting tricks so you can figure out what days, which months have 31 days and which ones have less than 31 days. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July. And then when you go backwards, August, September, October, November, December. So you can figure out if you have 31 days or not in a month, right? Yeah, kind of cool. I like it, right? It's kind of neat. But what I want to show you is this, right? So the month of May has 31 days, right? Has 31 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I should have made 7. 7 would have been easier. No, 8 would have been easier, wouldn't it? No, wait. Don't write this down. Don't write this down. 8 times 3 is 24. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there we go. This should be 31 days, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 16, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, right? So there should be 31 days in the month of May. What this data represents, right? For example, right here where it says 759 for 15 days, what this is saying is in this person's bank account, right? In this person's bank account, for 15 days, this guy had $759. So 759 here, 759 here, 759 here, 759 here, all the way, right, for 15 days. So that's, you ready? So 759, my gosh, for a total of 15 days, right? So if you're calculating this average, what you're technically supposed to do, you ready for this? What you're technically supposed to do is add up all the days that they had this amount and then divide by how many there are. So I'm supposed to, if I was doing this the old-fashioned way, right? For 5 days, this guy had $1,985 for 5 days. So I'd write this out: day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5. Are you seeing this, what I'm doing so far here? I'm writing them all out. And what I'm technically supposed to do is I'm supposed to do this for all the possible values that I have here, for all the number of days that they're listed for, right? I'm supposed to fill these out for their values for those days, for the 1400. I should have just color coded this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 5 days he has $1,410, and then for these 6 days he has $348. And what I'm supposed to do, right, is add up all those values and then divide by 31 in total, and that would give me the average of this month of May. And I'm already exhausted just like thinking about having to do that. In fact, I'm already exhausted writing down 759 15 times, right? Right? That's what that 759 represents, by the way. It's this right here. The 759 for 15 days is these numbers right here written 15 times because there's supposed to be 15 days that he had that amount, right? And that's just nuts. I don't want to do that calculation. That's just annoying. So we can use the weighted means to actually calculate the mean of this month for us without having to do all of this. I just realized, like, when I shake the table, does my camera shake? You guys see me shaking? Anyways, I'm distracted. Sorry, I didn't mean to distract you too. But let's go back to this problem, right? Let's go back to this problem a bit. Okay, just a little bit, right? Let's go back to this problem. What I wanted to show you guys, right? Not really? Okay. Hopefully not that much. It was just me. So check this out. To calculate the average, the mean that is weighted, GHT, I like to write it down. It's the sum of your data points times the weight divided by the sum of your weight, right? God, that's horrible. So I wrote this out. My data points are in this case, my dollar values in this bank account. So $759, right? How long did this person have $759 in his bank account for? He had it for 15 days. And that's going to be the weight in this problem. right? The weight in the other problems were percentages, right? Like for your grade. But in this particular case, and this is what makes it hard, is figuring out what the weight is. The weight in this one is the number of days it has that amount for. That's what the weight is for this one. So 15 is the weight for 759. 1,985 had a weight of 5. 14,010 has a weight of 5 as well. And 384 has a weight of 6. Are you guys okay with where I got the weights from? Where did I get the weights from? And I'm hoping you guys can see that. The reason why I'm writing down those as your weights is because if you look at this poorly month drawn of May here, right? The reason why it has a weight of 15 is because 15 of those days, it actually has that value for it, right? Yeah, Calvin, that's it. The weight in this case is the number of days it has in there, right? So following this example up here, what I need to calculate next is the value times the number of days it was in there for. That's how we would calculate that total, right? But in this formula, it's just days times the value. So the x times the weight. So I'm going to go ahead and do that on my calculator real quick here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick here. So just like the previous one, I'm going to multiply the x number with the weight number. So it's going to be 759 times 15 times 15. So that's going to come out to be 11,385. 11,385. And again, if you didn't see where this is coming from 759 times 15. That's all I'm doing. 759 times 15. It's come from my x value times my weight. Okay, I'm going to do that for all 4 of these guys. So the next one up is going to be 1,985 times 5. And that's going to give me 9,925. 9,925. Do it for the next one. 1,410 times 5 as well. And that's going to give me 7,050. 7,050. And last but not least, 348. Multiply that by 6, and that's going to give me 2,088. 2,088. Okay? 2,088. Now I have those values in there. Again, if you are having trouble seeing where this is coming from, right? This is just the data point, 1985 times 5. This one right here is coming from 1410 times 5. And this last one down here is coming from 348 times 6. Okay? That's where I'm getting those guys from. Okay? Now that I have my W and my my data and my weight multiplied together, right? That's this part right here. That goes into here. Notice what's outside that bracket. Notice what is outside there. What's outside here is that sigma, right? That's telling me to add them all up. So the sigma of my x times my W is just equal to the total of these guys added together, right? So we're going to go ahead and just have the calculator add that up for us. I have here 11,385 plus 925 plus 7050 plus 2088, and I get my sum to be 30,448. I'm gonna pause there for a second and give you guys a chance to write this down into your notes or into your Pear Deck. Go ahead and start writing that down. Lewis, that is not what I want from you. Come on, Lewis. Focus. This is the problem that you need to be copying down. That is, by the way, that was a very very well done drawing, Lewis. You know what? Don't erase that. Don't erase that. Give me a second here. Hold up. Here, I just gotta share this out with you guys. This is not what I'm expecting you guys to do in the middle of my class, but I mean, I do have to say, you know, that is a pretty nice drawing. But again, Lewis, that's not what that's not what I was hoping to see, right? So let's take a look here. Let's take a look at some more examples here. This is beautiful, right? This is beautiful. Very well drawn notes here. So keep coming along. That's good. Who else has got it? Who else has got it? This is also a good example here. No need, right? No need for lines. If you're just typing straight across, you could just do it that way. I just saw the chat. Lewis, it said draw a table, so I drew a table. Oh my god. I can't even argue with that. Like, that is true. That is a table that you drew, but my god, he's following you. Yeah, I can't even get mad at that. I can't even get mad at that. To be fair, that is a well-drawn table. That's a well-drawn table. Now, Lewis, go back and erase that well-drawn table and draw a table for numbers. Draw a table for numbers. Get this into your notes. Get this in your notes. Okay, Lewis, get that in there. Can't even get mad at that. Oh my gosh. Is that a candle? I didn't see. Is it a candle? Look at everyone else's nicely done work. But yes, I think that is a candle. I think that is a candle. All right. But everyone else who I have posted up here, beautifully done, right? Awesome job. Very nice. We're going to continue on this, okay? We're going to continue. So check this out. Check this out. You ready? You ready? Okay, thank you for letting me know. Thank you. Check this out. So to calculate the average, right? To calculate the average, to calculate the mean, right, is going to equal to, I think I need this one on top. So that right there, that whole thing up top right there is going to be this guy right here, which is 30,448. Okay, 30,448. I need to now divide by the sum of all of my W's. That's what's going to go in the bottom right here. And I need to find that. So that, remember, that symbol, right, that sigma, it stands for the sum. So how do I get the sum of my W values? I simply just add all these up right here, right? So 15 plus 5 plus 5 plus 6 comes out to 31. And I hope you understand that's not a coincidence, by the way. That 31 is exactly the number of days in the month of May. So that's what I'm going to divide by. That 31 right here is coming from this guy, which is the sum of all of my W's. That's where that 31 comes into play. And I simply just plug that into the calculator, right? That's going to get plugged into the calculator. 30,448. Divide that by 31, and I get $982.19. How do I know to round it to decimal points? It's just because we're dealing with cash. I'm going to round it to the nearest penny, right? Traditionally, though, I want to go to 4 decimal places, so it should be 0.1935, but I'm rounding it to this one right here just because we're dealing with cash, right? But normally, I want you to go to 4 decimal places, right? But if you only go to here, that's perfectly fine as well. But that's your answer, guys. How much money did this guy have in his bank account? Or she have in this bank account? He or she, I don't know. For the month of May, on average, this person had $982 on average in their banking account every day, right? And that's it. And here's the thing I want you to notice is if you were to do this the long way, right? If you were to write down, oh, he had or she had $759 for 15 days, and then $1,985 for 5 days, $1,410 for 5 days, and $348 for 6 days. If you actually did it this way, and you added up all these scores, you would actually get this number. That's it. That's all I'm trying to show you is that it's the same, right? When you're doing something weighted and when you're doing something the long way. It's just that if you do it this way, I hope you guys can see the math is a lot easier, right? The math is a lot easier. I'm not saying this math is hard. You can do the addition of all these numbers and then divide by how many there are. You won't be wrong. I'm just letting you know that that's super tedious. You're going to type down 759 15 times and then make sure you have a plus in between all of them. And then you're going to do the same thing for 1,985 5 times with a plus sign between all of those. Why do all that when you could just do this, right? You get the same answer for much, much less work. And the only reason why people don't like this is because of this table right here and this equation. They'll look at it and just go, nope, I'm not doing the problem. But if you sit through and go past that point, you can see that the work here is a lot easier, so much easier, because you guys already know how to calculate the averages. Now you can do it using this technique. All right, so hopefully you guys got that down. I'm gonna give you guys a second to screenshot that, put that into your notes. It looks beautiful. Man, some of you guys have gotten really good at drawing your stuff out and typing it out. I'm looking at your stuff here. It is beautiful here, guys. So if you guys want, you can screenshot my screen and put that into your notes. You can screenshot your Pear Deck and put that into your notes. It's up to you. Okay? It's up to you. I'm going to wait a little bit, give you guys a second so you can do what you need to do and put that into your onto your Pear Deck, and take a second for you to put that Pear Deck onto your notes. If you want, I'm going to ask you guys to do this next problem right here. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Actually, I'll just zoom out a little bit so we can fit both. So we're going to do this next problem. Actually, when I say we, I'm going to say you guys are going to do this next problem using this information. So this next problem has the scores for a statistics class separated by major. Separated by major. Okay? So what is the mean score of the class? What is the mean score of the class? Right? And we actually did this the other day with you guys when we were going over the quiz. You guys saw that the mean of period 2 was lower than the mean of period 5. So the overall mean of the class of both classes in total was somewhere in between, right? So that's going to be the case here, though. And that one was equally weighted. I hope you understand. It was period 5 weighted with period 2. So there was only one period 5 and only one period 2. In this example, there are 9 engineering majors with an average of 85, 5 math majors with an average of 90, and 13 business majors with an average of 81. And I hope you guys can make that same statement with this one right here. You can clearly see the business majors brought down the scores of the other majors, right? But how much did it bring it down by? What's the average going to be for this one right here? So I want you guys to go ahead and take a look at this and start this. I'm going to go ahead and, you know what? I only have 12 responses from you guys here on the Pear Deck. What's happening here? I just noticed that. There's like 35 of you or 30. Well, there's only 32 of you now out of 36. So I think some people came in, some people left. How rude. How rude. But anyways, get in there and do this, guys. This is how I do your, I check off your credit for these problems. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one right here. I want you guys to try this one. Okay, I want you to try this one. All right, we're going to go on to this one. I'm going to move the slide over. Can you guys go ahead and try this problem the same way I did the last problem, right? And if you have trouble starting it, right, you're going to need to get your x values in order, and you're going to need to get your weights in order, and then you're going to go ahead and multiply those guys together, just like we did in the last problem. So you guys need to figure out which one is your x, which one is your weight, and do that part first. Fill out this, these two rows first. What is your x and what is your weight? And be careful with that. So remember, what are we talking about here? We're talking about the mean scores. We're talking about the scores. That's what we're looking to average out. We're looking for the average score of the class, right? So what's going to go in your x values? This one up here was a little bit easier. We were able to talk about the balance, right? We were talking about the balance, the average balance in this account. So the x values was the dollars amount because we're talking about the balance. This one we're talking about the average scores. So make sure you get what goes into the x value there. Try that out, guys. I'm not going to say anything. Just try it. What do you guys think? What do you guys feel like? And you don't have to give me the final answer in 2 minutes, but in 2 minutes, I want to see your tables filled out. Okay, so I'm going to go with a 2-minute timer. Fill out your table for me. Fill out your table for me. Hey, fill out your tables for me. Let me go take a look and see which one is which. And Patricia, you're off to a great start. You're off to a great start. Jasmine, you are also off to a great start. Good job. Kevin, that's beautiful. Keep going. Frankie, Francisco, that is nicely drawn. Nicely drawn. Start filling that out. Lewis, I like that table more. I like that table more, Lewis. Very nice. Make sure to be careful, though. The W goes in the second chart. Unless you want to go with the first one. That works, too. It's up to you. But traditionally, we go X, then W. But you can go with that. That's perfectly fine. Calvin, that's awesome. That's awesome. You're not even labeling the X's and the W's, though. So be careful with that one, Calvin. Be careful with that one. Which one's your X? Which one's your X? Which one's your W? Okay. Michael, I like your X, I like your W, but be careful with the numbers in there. Jared, nicely drawn table. Very good, very good. Keep going, guys. Fill out the chart. I want to check it out in 1 minute. Check out the numbers that you have placed in there in 1 minute. Hope you don't mind me eating this cracker. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Christina, Cami is very laggy. If you want, you can email me before class, and I can send you the notes as a Google Doc, and you can just do it on your own Google Doc. And then when you get the chance, you can just upload that onto the Cami instead. I can show you how to do that, Christina, if you want. Mm-hmm. I still grade it through the Cami, but you could just do it all on Google Docs instead. But yeah. Excuse me. Ooh. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a look. It's been 2 minutes looking at your charts here. Beautifully done. Beautifully done. Right? You understand, right? You have values here. You're going to have these values of 85, 90, and 81. And you're going to have these values of 9, 5, and 13. How do you know which one is your data value? And how do you know which one is your weights? Right? How do you know which one is which? And the easiest way to do that is to read the problem and see what it is you're calculating the mean for. What are you calculating the average for? I'm calculating the average for the scores, right? Therefore, the data that I'm looking at is the scores, right? I'm looking at the scores. I'm not looking at the number of people that are in each major, right? That's going to end up being my weight. It doesn't even say that part, but that's actually a little bit, that's what I'm saying. The weighted part is a little bit more difficult to identify. So what I would do instead is identify what is your X value? What is your scores that you're looking at, right? The previous one was, what was their account balance, right? So the dollar value was my X value up here. This one down here is going to be my scores as my X value. So it's going to be 85, 90, and 81. So hopefully you guys I saw the majority of you guys were able to get that. So that's beautifully done for those of you who have that part done. That is beautifully done. I'm actually going to cheat here. I'm going to look at some of your answers and take your answers down. I'm just going to hope that you guys multiplied correctly. So with that being said, though, the weights that correspond to these scores would be 9, 5, and 13. 9, 5, and 13. Okay, 9, 5, and 13. So how do we calculate the average, right? We're going to be using this formula, right? It's the sum of X times W over the sum of W. Well, X times W, we need to do that first. And again, I'm cheating here. I'm going to look at your numbers and pray that you guys did this right. So it looks like you guys got here 765 for that one. And then you got 450 for this one. And this one down here looks like this person got 1,053. Can you guys double check if those numbers are right? I did not do the calculations. I'm just looking through the charts. And it looks like, yeah, majority of you guys got the same numbers as, yeah, okay, yeah. Looking good, looking good. Calvin, that is impressive. But you should finish up the problem before you start drawing. That is actually really nice, though. That's actually a really good drawing. Hold up a second. Let me finish my chart real quick, and then I got to show off some of you guys' work. I know it's sidetracking, but it just looks so nice. Check this out, guys. This is the problem, right, that I have you guys doing? Look at this drawing. It's not done yet, but pretty darn good. Can I share my Cami screen real quick? I can't actually share the Cami screen as easy as the Pear Deck, but I can open it if you want. If you want to see what it looks like. Actually, you know what? Let me see. I go in my Google Drive. I can see if I can see. Oh no, it won't because it's not. You haven't submitted yet, right? I don't think you can. You know what? I'm just talking about it. Let's just see if we can. So you guys are my stats class. This is the 2.3 notes. Calvin, can I actually see this? Oh, I can actually see this. I heard you watch IQ. Isaiah asks me to tell you, where do you find the recordings? He's scared to. Okay. All right. So once we finish our lecture, it takes me about a day to upload the videos of these things. Once I have it uploaded, they upload it to YouTube, and then I put the links directly onto your Canvas page. So you go onto the Canvas page and you go into the daily agenda, right? The weekly agenda, I should say, right? Each weekly agenda will have a list of what we did, but you'll notice after a day or two at the very bottom of that day, I'll put a link to the video recording. You see here? So last week's video recordings have been posted and updated now. So you can see like, what did we do last week on Thursday? Just click on the video recording and it'll take you to the YouTube video posting of it. Okay, let's go ahead and record. All right, stop. There we go. Stop. And stop. There you go. Just this guy is just annoying. Just kept talking and talking. But yeah, so the video will be right here so you guys can see it. Okay, so it takes about a day, Isaiah or Lewis, whoever's actually asking for this, takes about a day. And the videos will be posted on there. You got to subscribe. I mean, sure, if you want, but it's just lectures. I guess so, yeah, so then you can see when it's up. That way you don't have to wait for it on this page. But yeah. What else do we got here? What else do you got here? Any more drawings other than that Haikyuu one? Oh, wait, we haven't gotten that far yet. Yeah, we'll just stop at that one. Beautiful drawing, Calvin. Poured my soul into it. I admit though, that's actually really well done. That's really well done. All right. So looking at this, and again, I'm gonna be cheating, looking at your values that I see here. You guys look like you have the total already. So the total of this one added up comes out to about 2,268. The total for this one comes out to about 27, right? So the average here is going to be equal to, so I take these numbers, okay? This right here represents this top part. You see that? So this right here is going to be 2,268. And in the bottom, I'm going to have this guy right here, which is the sum of your W values, which is going to be, in this case, 27. And then my average is going to come out to be, it looks like an average of, did you guys get a perfect number? You guys get a perfect number for this, by the way? Oh, Calvin, you have, I just saw what you did there. You have your X's and your W's switched. You have your X's and your W's switched. So make sure that the X's is the scores that you have recorded, not the number of students, right? So yeah, get that in there. But yeah, it looks like I got a perfectly whole number. Is that right? No, some of you guys got decimals. You guys got decimals. Is my sum wrong? Is my sum not 2,268? Let me just, you know what? Knock me, stop being lazy and just actually do the work. So let's go with that. 765 plus 450 plus 1,053. Whoops. Oh my God. Knock me. 1,053. So I got 2,268. That's the right number we have right there. 2,268. So that's the number that I have, right? And then divide that by 9 plus 5 plus 13. I get 27. So yeah, those two divided by each other. So 2,268 divided by 27. My answer is 84. The average score in this class was a score of 84, which I hope you think makes sense because the highest average was 90, the lowest average was 81. With the weights in mind, the average of the class as a whole comes out to 84. Excuse me. Oh my God. Now, that's it. Weighted averages in a nutshell, right? The hardest part, I'm telling you, is figuring out what's your X value and what's your weights. But once you figure that out, you just do this, like multiply them together, sum them up, and divide. And that's it. You're done. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. You just kind of like, boom, got my answer. And I don't know why, but this trips up every single one of my classes every year. So I try to spend a little bit more time with this year. I'm hoping it makes a little bit more sense. Does it make a little bit more sense? If not, you guys gotta come to my office hours and let me know, because I'm there to help you guys during my office hours. A few of you guys have showed up to retake some quizzes, which I appreciate that you actually are taking advantage of this. Not enough of you guys are taking advantage of my quiz retake ability during my office hours. But those of you who are, I appreciate you going in there and you care about your grade to bring that quiz grade. Your grades are weighted in my class, by the way, and your quiz grade is weighted at 30% of your final grade. So getting an A on that will help you by about 30% of your final grade. So keep that in mind. Please stop by my office hours every Tuesday through Friday from 1 to 2. If I'm already lecturing someone else, you just type into the chat, hey, Nakmi, I'm just here to retake a quiz. And I'll go in there and set that up. You don't have to listen to everything else. I just reset the quiz for you and you can go retake the quiz. Okay? All right. You guys okay with this? I'm going to move on. You guys got these numbers down? You guys saved your Pear Deck answer? Actually, I'm going to set this up so then this should send to you guys afterwards. That option isn't there. Interesting. Let me go ahead and go into Pear Deck real quick and turn that on real quick. Why do you do this? Why don't you send automatically? We're going to go to my account. We're going to go to my settings. And we are going to turn on the takeaways. That is turned on. Hello? Why aren't you there? All right, well, we'll figure this out later. All right, I'm talking to myself. Let's move on. We're moving on. We're going to go to this guy over here. This one is the mean of grouped data, which is what we learned at the beginning of this chapter. Classes. You remember that? The frequency table with the classes that has like something to something, right? We're going to learn how to calculate the average of a frequency table. That's all it is. The average of a frequency distribution table. It is approximated by this formula right here. But X is not the data point. This is the part that you need to make sure you underline, highlight, write in bold, yell it to yourself. The X in this case is going to be represented of the midpoints of the midpoints. We're not using the specific X value, we're using the midpoints. So I have it broken down in steps right here. And when you are taking a quiz or a test, right, you might want to look and reference back to this. So you might want to highlight this or cut it out and put it into like a 3x5 note card or put it on a cheat sheet or something where you can see the steps here to calculate the mean of a frequency distribution or a frequency table. The first thing you need to do is calculate the midpoints. That's always the first thing you do. After that, you multiply the midpoint by its frequency. So you remember the last one, we multiply the data by its weight? This is pretty much the same thing, except now it's not by the weight, it's by its frequency, and it's not a data point, it's actually the midpoint of your class. And this sounds crazy. If this sounds too much and too wonky, you'll see it when we do it and you realize, hey, this is exactly the same thing we did earlier, Nakmi. And I'll say, yes, it is. It just has different symbols. And for some reason, just changing the symbols around screws up a lot of people. Now, the last part here is this part right here. They say to divide by n, but the n is you see this notation again, right? It's the sigma of f. That's all very, very similar to the sigma of this w, right? We would use the w as our weight, and we would find the sum of that w and divide by that. Well, now we're doing the sum of the frequency, right? How frequent does it show up? Kind of like your weights. And then you would divide by that. And they're calling that n, right? They're calling that n. And if you think about it, the frequency here, right? I'm sorry, the weight here was 9, 5, and 13, and we got a total sum of 27. And if you think about that really closely, that means that there was 27 students in that class, right? We got it as the sum of the weights is equal to this. But if you think about it, what was the sample size of this class? It was 27 as well, right? That's kind of like what I'm saying, that this is very similar to what we just did. It's just a little bit different notations. Okay, I'm talking too much. Let's actually do a problem. Okay, so let's do an I'll do, will do one. So I'm going to change the slides right now. Okay, I'm going to change the slides. So I'm going to change the slides, but at the end, I'll unlock it if you guys need to go back to your other slides to get your answers. But I'm also going to be sending out the copies to you guys as well, since the majority of you guys voted yes on this one. So I will be sending out these Pear Deck answers that you have as well. We'll see how it looks. I actually haven't tried this yet, so you guys will be my first. So let's go on to this one right here, the I'll do, will do, and let's do this problem together, okay? So let me, hold on a second here. Let me write down this, this formula right here. This average of x is going to be equal to the average of x times f all over n, where x is the midpoint and f is the, excuse me, and n, that's the wrong eraser, stroke eraser, and n is equal to the sum of your frequency. So let's go ahead and have that down there so we can take a look at how this works. All right, so check this out. We have this table right here written here for us, right? And this is what I wanted to show you guys. The x value that you're going to use now is not your data that comes from here. It's not your data that comes from here. It's your midpoint. So how did they get this 12.5? They actually won't give you that number sometimes. You actually have to calculate that. And the way you calculate that is going to be, you take the class, which in this case is going to be 7 as your lower limit and 18 is your upper limit. So to get this midpoint right here of 12.5, you're supposed to take that 7, add it to the 18, and divide by 2, right? So you take the lower number and the higher number, add them together, divide by 2. So that's the only thing that's really different in this problem here, is you actually have to calculate that midpoint of each of these classes, right? And that's how they get that 12.5. And you're technically supposed to do that for all of them. And once you get the midpoints, then we can go ahead and start calculating the average, right? Then you can go ahead and start calculating the average. So let's go ahead and calculate this midpoint real quick. All right, calculate this midpoint real quick. This is going to be, oh, well, they already have it calculated. So 7 plus 8 is 25. Divide that by 2, it's 12.5. So we have our midpoints, and they were kind enough to give us all of the midpoints, okay? So to calculate this formula, they're telling us that we need to multiply our x value with our f value. Very similar to our x value times our w value earlier, isn't it? So in this table right here, I would write down this is going to be 12.5 times 6. 12.5 times 6. And that's all I write down. And you guys can write this down as you follow along. 12.5 times 6 is going to be 75. And that's all I write down right here, 75. Okay, so I'll pause it for a second. It was quite fast and quite a bit that I just went through really quick here, but I'm hoping you guys can understand, right? To get these midpoint values, you simply just take these numbers right here. So this one right here for 24.5 is technically 19 plus 30 divided by 2, and that's how they got the 24.5. Once you get your midpoint, you then multiply it with your frequency f, and that's how we get to this part over here, right? That's helping us to get that part. So 24.5 multiplied by 10 is going to give me 245. And you're going to do that for all of these, okay? You're just going to do that for all of these. So I'm going to go down here and just multiply each of these out. So this next one would be 36.5 times 13. That is 474.5. And we keep going. We just keep going. And that's all this is. I hope you guys are starting to see, right? Statistics isn't actually that hard. It's just kind of like number crunching, right? It's just what makes it difficult is remembering what numbers you crunch with which, right? Which numbers multiply with which numbers add up with which one. But once you get that down, right, it's the same thing each time, right? It's the same thing each time. So 48.5 times 8, that's going to give me 388 for that one. We'll do the next one, which is 60.5 times 5, which is going to give me 302.5. And then we're going to keep going here. The next one after that is going to be 72.5 times 6, which is 435. And last but not least, of course, 84.5 times 2, right? And that gives me 169. And of course, inappropriate people are going to laugh at that 169. Ha 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 ha. I'm one of those inappropriate people. All right. I'm going to pause there for a second. Are you guys okay with how we got these numbers in this list over here? Are you guys okay with how I got these numbers? Yes, no, maybe so. You guys okay with that? Hopefully you are. If not, you'll let me know. Silence means that you guys are okay. Or you're not okay, or you guys are all dead. What's happening? Are you guys there? Are you guys writing? Yes. Okay. That's somewhat of an answer. I appreciate that, Isabella. Thank you for letting me know. Also, you guys have stopped answering on the Pear Deck. Are you guys just typing it into your notes? That's fine too if you guys are just doing that, but I'm a little sad. You guys aren't. Patricia, I appreciate you doing it, typing it into the Pear Deck. I appreciate that. Good. Some of you guys are getting in there. So that's the start of this, guys, right? We're writing these numbers into that chart, right? The next thing that you need to find is the sum of them. So I need to add these all up, right? And that's what I'm going to write down here at the bottom here. If I add all these numbers up, right? This 75 plus 245 plus 474.5 plus 388 plus 302.5 plus 435 plus 169. We get a sum of, I messed up somewhere, didn't I? Did I mess up somewhere? 75 plus 245 plus 474.5 plus 388 plus 302.5 plus 435 plus 169. I get a total of 2,089. 2,089. 2,089. And I hope you understand that 2,089, right? That's this yellow highlight that I have right here. So if I was calculating my average, so far, I have this part of it. 2,000. Why did I write a 3 there when I clearly said 9? 2,089. So far, I've gotten this part of my work so far. The last part I need now is what it's dividing by. And what it's dividing by is n. And I have to remember that n is equal to the sum of the frequency. And that's going to be right down here. N is equal to the sum of all of these numbers. And if I add all these numbers up, I find out that the sum is equal to 50. Kind of like our weights that we did earlier, right? Except now it's just this number. Okay? Now it's just this number. So this is all going to be divided by 50. So I have here my answer. My average is equal to 2,089 divided by 50. You plug that into the calculator. 2,089, divide that by 50, and I get 41.78. And that's my answer. Okay? And that's my answer. I'll give you guys a second to copy that down, put it in your notes, and I think that's where we're going to stop for today. We're almost done with this. We're almost done with, we're almost done with this as a whole. I think there's only like 1 or 2 more pages left, and we should finish that on Thursday and be able to start up 2.4 on Thursday. But other than that, guys, I'm going to wrap it here and say thanks for listening. Hopefully you guys got these notes, and I'm going to try to email out your answers that are on the Pear Deck today as a Google Doc so you guys can have a copy of it. And Jared, you can have a copy of your smiley face on there as well. And that's going to be it for me, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Go get some lunch. I'll see you guys on Thursday, all right? Have a good one.